I'll say something real quick. Dave, can you hear Mike or JJ?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Dave,
can hear
me.
Yep, I can hear them
Actually,
both.
talking to
Sounds
the
good.
mic might help because it
Right.
amplifies the voice.
Yeah, I work in radio, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I used to work.
No, the computer, the desktop.
Mayor Forrest Grove was, he worked for, yeah, because I got a base for working on radio.
Oh, I'm thinking too, so that's, yeah.
He's through accident.
When I worked in Ada, the radio person kind of tried to convince me the same thing. He's like, "You got a good face for radio. You stay on here more often." I'm like, "Thanks. That means a lot."
No,
Why don't we go ahead and just call this thing to order? Clock is 6 o'clock. Item. Got 3 members, I guess. The first item is agenda for getting any comments, additions, changes. Okay. Right, then why don't we into meeting minutes for June 20th, 2024. Some actions from
well, I reviewed them. I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
motion second to approve the minutes for June 20th. Discussion.
We're missing one, yeah.
If none, all those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Public comment. We're going to limit everybody to 3 minutes. And if you get out of
It could take a while.
hand, we'll have to throw you out.
All right, well, I guess they want me to do this, my, thing on public comment, so.
Oh, so we do have, okay.
You do,
Well, go
although I
ahead.
am the vice chair, but yes, so.
Representing the libraries. Okay. Or the city or whatever.
You know.
Right.
All
I
right.
got you, JJ.
All right, so I'm JJ Durham, Vice Chair of the Parks Committee, and have been working on a number of events that I volunteer for the summer for the City Scappoose and Scappoose Library. Mike Sykes dragged me into this years ago, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So I did pass out kind of an outline that I presented to council. That's just a bit abbreviated about what we've done in the past and what we're proposing to do, what we are doing this summer. So we've got 3 events we do. Earth Day, which is going to be April 26th. We chose that date because the week before is Easter, so it would just be very difficult for folks to get together for that. So that'll be Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. From 7:30 a.m. to about 10 a.m. we will have our solve cleanup. I've been talking with Dave about what we're going to focus on, and Dave has suggested doing road cleanup. We'll probably be doing some native planting as well during that time period. If you'd like to come for that, that'd be great. So I also had talked to Dave about the idea of doing some beautification projects. Other cities do things like have planters or they have hanging baskets, and it just, I think it adds a lot to communities. So that was the extended discussion. And then, so from 7:30 until about 10 a.m., people will be doing cleanup and beautification or whatever else we get done. And then from 10 to 3, we'll have the event and pretty much do the same thing we did last year. We're hoping we get the Columbia River PDP, one of our sponsors, they support our birthday in the past. We are planning on, I haven't talked back about this yet, but we are planning on giving away electric charged tools for the garden as well as an electric bike. And we have entries, so people have to enter to win the event. We'll have live music. Band that we have are the Decades, and they're actually donating their time. I mean, everybody donates their time pretty much for this. And we'll have the Scappoose Police Department doing free food. So we'll have burgers and hot dogs donated by Grocery Outlet. Community Club will be there selling drinks and stuff for $1. So it's a little fundraiser for them. But, all in all, it's about getting people excited about taking care of the planet and taking care of our parks. The next one is going to be the Scappoose Outdoor Fun Festival. And I had years ago come up with the idea of doing some kind of an adventure festival. And, this last year, I actually, put forth what I had envisioned it being, and, it was a really big success. We had close to 1,000 people show up. We were able to monitor that and kind of come up with that number is that we actually have these recycled, grocery bags that are, swag bags that we gave out to families. We had 300 and they all went. We also brought back the Scappoose sauerkraut sandwich, which was a huge hit for the Scappoose Sauerkraut Festival years ago. And so this event is really in place to help to replace that event. This year, it's going to be really better than ever. We also have the farmer's market that day. We will have the forestry department with Smoky Bear. We will have Native American dancers. I don't know if any of you guys attended it, but the Native American dancers were amazing. And so they actually do their performance at the Watts House, and then we have them do pictures and meet and greet on the Heritage Park side. We'll be having live music. We are giving away a tandem kayak that we'll probably get donated from Fred Myers. They helped us out last year. We will have the Oregon equestrians are going to be there. We're going to have rock hounds there talking about rocks. It would be really great to have the city have a booth for parks, talking about the parks we have, seeing we're talking about exploring the outdoors. We should have Next Adventure. We'll see how that goes. But we have Fred Meyer, Starbucks, not Safeway, Les Schwab. We've got a lot of sponsors that, and the reason why I'm pretty good at this is that I've done thousands of these events during my broadcasting career. And one of the things I think is really important is that you have a theme and you stick to it. So a lot of times events, are put out, but there's like all this variation, and it's like by having vendors that are specific to the idea, and then sponsors that also collaborate with that specific idea really makes it a meaningful and fun event for everybody. This year, we're planning on doing a Dance on the Wild Side in the evening, but like last year, we had the Kids Nature Art Show, which was a huge success, and we did a creation table in the Watts House, their front lawn, and so kids could create that, handmade art there. NJ, bless his heart, he helped me do the campfire storytelling tent, and we didn't have a real fire. Claire, and a little fake fire, and then told kids story. We had campfire stories. We had the Cub Scouts there with big Lego exhibits. We just had we had the Bird Alliance, the Oregon Bird Alliance, formerly the Portland Audubon Society there. We gave away binoculars. We gave away all kinds of fun things that were relevant to the outdoors. But having things like the Marine Patrol, the Scappoose Fire Department, the Forestry Department, the real emphasis was being able to educate people of being good stewards of the wild spaces in our parks. Since the pandemic, we've seen probably a 200% increase in people using parks, and a lot of them are well-intentioned, but they don't understand, leave no trace, or other ways to actually enhance our parks. And so that is the primary goal for this event, as well as having a very good time, and it's free. And so the next event, which is what got me dragged into this labyrinth, is Movies by Moonlight. We started that in 2018 with the goading of Michael Sykes, and it's been a going concern ever since. And it's once again a big hit. It's all of these events are free, and then for the movie night, we do a thing where we just do dollar hot dogs and burgers that were once again donated by the Scappoose Grocery Outlet. And they, all that money goes to the community club. So they've been able to help raise money for their organization. And we've had really great movies. And because I'm a former entertainer, I do all kinds of silly things on stage. We have pizza bingo. We also have theme nights. And some of the movies we're going to be running this year is we're going to do Beetlejuice, which will have a contest, a costume contest for that. We're going to do the original Austin Powers and have a contest for that, as well as a dance contest. We're going to do Wicked and do a sing-along, seeing as they're already singing in theaters. That'll be our final event, and we'll have dress up, which people always love to do. And of course, Fred Meyer every year donates these big sheet cakes that they do a great job decorating for the theme. So it's free cake for all. And it's just, it's just fun, and it's free again, so people can actually come and bring their families, and spend very little money on food, or they can bring their own picnics, and it's just a great way for them to enjoy, community, and everybody has a great time. Any questions?
Exciting. I just want to say that the movies in the park's been a really good project, particularly in Earth Day, was outstanding. And I'm sure that my organization would support both those. The other one, that the library is kind of takes the lead with Adventure Fest, right?
No, not really. We really work on it as a partnership. I mean, Jeff and the library are really extraordinary. I mean, they really stepped up in doing like little kids activities. They actually had like an animal, petting zoo there, so that was them. And they also did all the artwork and everything. So they're very, very involved, but we really, we work on it together because it's a pretty big endeavor. So I've been reaching out to different organizations. Actually, I've been talking to Snow Peak. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. They're really great. There's like this really great Japanese-based outdoor store that's based in Northwest Portland, but they just opened a called Snow Peak Campfield in Long Beach. And so their whole thing is about outdoor activities, really elevated, but really fun. And so we're working on them on doing campfire cooking demonstrations this year.
Well, I guess, point is, I know that Earth Day's been kind of, Captain's Park's been a big part of that. And the movies, but I'm not sure how much we were involved with the outdoor fest. Just not sure. I thought it was more of a library priority. I mean, the money went to the library and coordinated through the library, so I'm not sure how much it is ours, but I guess maybe it could be.
Well, I think having parks involved in that is important because it is all about the outdoors.
Right, and that is a question I do have in all three of these events. Are they library events? Are they city? I know that we are in support and we're sponsoring, but who ultimately is responsible for those? And that's a question nobody's really been able to answer me very clearly, because like, well, it's kind of city, it's kind of library, JJ, like who is?
Well, I mean, I consider myself to be a member of the city of Scappoose as vice chair of parks.
Sure.
And so in that, in that light, that has really been the way that I do my involvement. And so I actually kind of come up with a lot of the entertainment ideas that I'm able to manifest. And we working with organizations like the Bird Alliance, which I've been working with for a while, the whole goal with those things as well is getting those organizations to partner more with the city of Scappoose, which they've, definitely said that they want to. For instance, they did extensive cleanup on Sobeys Island at, Oak Island Trail, which is a really great circular, almost a 3-mile trail, where they cleaned up all the blackberries and invasive species, and then put in signage for birds and everything. So Dave and I met with Micaiah from the Portland Bird Alliance this last year, talking about ways that we can do similar things with Chapman Landing. So yes.
No, I realize that. It's just more for my own purpose of insurance ability or other things, because the way it's been perceived or presented since I've been here is you're working with Jeff to make these events happen. The city's donating money and some manpower to help, like you said, in support of and in partnership with, but it's kind of hosted from the library with the city's help, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood that.
And that is why I brought it up, because I remember when we started the first Earth Day, And it was definitely a city in conjunction with the library, and actually it was, right after we finished the fountain, and it was a way, and we actually, on Earth Day, we had Michael Curry, the
Right.
first day we, started the fountain, and we haven't done that since, but we talked about doing that annually. April 26th, it might be too cold to do that, and I'm not sure it's necessary, but I really feel like that is, without question, a priority of this committee. And we're also pretty engaged in that, and in the movies in the park, that was something that was definitely a city. Now, Adventure Fest,
Well, it's not a Venture Fest, it's a Scavengers Outdoor Flight.
Yeah.
well, whatever it is, but you know, that was kind of an offshoot out of, that's a long story. We used to be over there, and it was kind of created after we did the centennial. JJ stepped up and
Right.
was able to get the library to lead that, but anyway, I'm not sure it's something this committee has ever really been too involved with. But that's supposed to be,
Well, I mean, I think that,
it's not to say it's a good or bad thing.
oh, no, I completely understand, but we have had past committee members that have helped with that, so, but yeah.
Well, and more than anything, for me, it's helping to determine involvement of planning these events as well. Because, I mean, the way, obviously, you're doing a lot with Jeff, and once again, the city's just contributing. I do agree, it's in partnership, both districts, city and the library are co-opting with that, but it seems like these days it's more run from the library side with us supporting, the Parks Committee supporting these things, but we're not the planning side of it, where we are the host and helping determine as much. And I don't know on the park, this is my first Parks Committee, that's why I'm asking these questions. From the city side, it hasn't been, you know, you presented this to the council, this is what we're doing, and there wasn't any really involvement other than, could you give us some money? So,
Well, I mean, we're totally open to people getting involved, it's just that, you know, because I've done this for so many years professionally, I really know how to do it.
sure.
And I volunteer my time, so I'm really fortunate that I have the time to volunteer for it. And I really work to do, really, you know, great event for folks. Because I think, you know, for me, it's like, we just need to have activities for people to do that, you know, aren't gonna break the bank, that are gonna be enriching. And until we actually have a formal, you know, Parks and Recreation District or something, you know, right now, I mean, we talk about the library taking those things on, but the truth is that the library is like the adjunct recreation place. I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago on a Wednesday, and it's like they were giving out food, they were having in their main room children's after-school activities, you know, and so, you know, hopefully at some point, the city can come to a place where we can actually have a more formal Parks and Recreation program. And so then, that's the best we've got.
Well, and then we got this committee, and you know, one of the things that I have said ever since we did the centennial is that I'd like to see a community parade. Those are really popular.
Oh, I
Right.
love that, yes.
And so, you know, if the Parks Committee is going to be involved, then I think we need to be engaged in planning what activities and what it looks like. And would be glad to participate in that. You know, it's one thing to show up, it's another thing to help
Plan.
just design it. And I was the chair of the centennial event, which what did it take? It took us about 7 months of meeting to make a committee of about 20 people, and it's really well embraced by them. But even then, with 20, it was really tough. But I think a lot of this would have been spoiled because we have Jake and his just
All the energy.
everything else that stuff
Right.
way that does a good job.
But let me ask you this, I mean, because we've talked about doing the parade, I mean, I think, so for which event or when are you thinking that parade would be good to do?
Well, basically, wherever there was a event called the Scappoose Powwow Days, and it disappeared. The JCs ran it for years. Then the boosters did it for a while. Didn't make any money on it, and then after that, the city stepped up and did the centennial, the 1920, 2021, 100 years of celebration. And so we kind of had a committee that did it, but it was a lot of work. And but this park was full of events. The other park was full. Gravel was parking, and
Yeah.
it was too big. And the weather it was like 115. So it didn't help. But anyway, having an event like where, so this basically adventure, or whatever you call it, was kind of the follow-up to that. I think the city hired, we hired a group, Treadway, to kind of do some of a portion of the centennial. But the committee was really involved with helping to do fundraising, and I think we raised probably about $80,000 from different businesses to basically pay for the event. And I'm not saying we should do something like that, but some of the things that were part of that were really well received. The parade was just, everybody loves a parade, and there was some couple bands that played one night. Were pretty well, but that's it's a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and I don't know if we have the bandwidth to do that. And so I think, but the Adventure Fest, I think, helps build that void. But and we had let's see what else did we have at that. We had a cornhole tournament, guy here to do that. It was a pretty big event. But I think part of the reason why there hadn't been a parade was because the scaffolds really didn't have enough police officers. They were going through some times where there was a lot of turnover. And so that didn't help. That was a consideration. But I think, I think put together is a good plan. But,
Well, I mean, I think the reason I like the Outdoor Fun Festival so much is that the challenge with Scappoose as a city for an identity is that we really don't have an identity, and I know they've talked about, different naming of identities and everything else. And when I spoke with Ben, I told him that I'd come up with the idea of calling Scappoose the gateway to the outdoors because, in parts, Astoria has gotten an extreme amount of press, and a lot of people are now heading to the coast along Highway 30. And when we did the studies with Tesla, I provided them with highway information that Mike and his team put together when he was city manager for the fuel tax. It demonstrated that there was enough traffic to justify putting, charging stations there. But, it's like, I really believe that Scappoose does that, or your idea of, gateway to the coast. I mean, it gives us something to anchor on, but that's just something else to think about.
okay, anything else under public comment? All right, we got a lot on our agenda, but move on. Old business, this golf course.
I don't know. I turned it on. It doesn't sound like it's working, but
Can you hear me, Dave?
oh no,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's picking you up. The transcript is showing, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Well, we have a old business disc golf course. I know that Ian worked a lot on that with Dave, and I don't know who's going to give a report. So.
Yeah, I didn't know. I haven't
think-
seen the agenda. Oh, Ben, are you talking?
Oh, that was Ian. Sorry. Dave's saying he hasn't seen the agenda. We're talking about the disc golf course. It's under old business. This is the only item under old business.
Okay. Well, current status would be, obviously, we're moving forward with the application for the grab horn, which has that as the key amenity to the park. In the meantime, this summer, we're also looking into the feasibility of putting in temporary baskets on the property. But at this juncture, we haven't moved forward with that yet. With all of the ARPA projects going, none of the staff has just had the time to pursue that. And it's not really the right season to be working out there doing that anyway. So there may be some temporary something coming, just to be determined yet, but it is moving forward.
Would the committee be okay if we kind of, I see our next item is, under new business is goal setting. Could we maybe talk a little bit about the Grabhorn grant before we go into goal setting? Because that might have some bearing.
Yes, I think it's okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
And you want to give us, you know, we didn't even walk, we did this committee. We did jump right in there, but,
Hi, Ben.
yeah, best.
I think you're the one I haven't met yet again, so good to meet you.
But anyway, we're thrilled to have you. You have a good, solid background in parks. That was what your master's?
My undergrad was in parks, master's in public administration.
Okay, so I mean, impressive background. So we're glad to have you. We have I think, a pretty solid committee that looks forward to working with you and taking advantage of your talents for our park.
Thank you.
Anyway, you hit the ground running, and as I understand, there's been a grant submitted that will be submitted for Grabhorn.
Right, we're looking at several different grants. So we already put a grant in for a trails grant that is for Grabhorn as well. That will help with the trail going along there, which is part of the plan anyway. So that was the first one. We got it in November, I think was the deadline for that one. One thing that we did do is I had some connections prior with a company that does grant writing for communities. And I've had some really good success with him. He does it for a lot of communities, has a lot of good connections. And so we contracted with, their name is Dakota Consulting, just to help with any overflow. Charlotte's really heading up that process. It's really to help also train her on grant writing in that process with somebody who has that experience. So we're trying to use them as a dual purpose, not just to help with the grants, but to help Charlotte with future grants. So hopefully we could be more internal and use them less as we go along. But so we got that trails grant applied, and then we have 2 more grants coming up. The local government, the LGGP grants. There are 3 grants that they offer. They come due in April, May. 2 of them, well, there's a large, a small, and a technical assistance. You can apply for 2 of them. We didn't really need a technical assistance this year, so we're applying for both the large and the small grants. And like I said, those are coming up, so we're getting those applications together. They just opened up this month. Maybe just barely. I don't remember their opening date, but
Yeah.
Just barely opening. So Charlotte's working with Nick on that and his team to put together those grants.
So what's the focus of, I mean, what are you going to try to accomplish in the park? What's the grant? What are the elements of grant? What you're going to try to.
Dave, do you want to speak to those? I don't remember the specifics on them. The large part of the small grant that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, the large grant is the plan that has been presented to the Parks Committee several months ago. Nothing has changed on that. It'll be a half-sized parking lot on E.J. Smith Road to avoid the costs of building into the wetlands. So we'll have some minor mitigation there to create what would be the eastern half of the long-term parking lot. There'll be a restroom facility there, the trailhead and the trail along from E.J. Smith into Veterans Park, the continuance of that, which is the grant that's currently pending. We're looking for, pre-money on that, hopefully. And then that way, anything that we build in the park, we can stretch into other amenities. And then we will grade the facility to allow for soccer and do, just preliminary grade work to level out where you could do soccer, football, or t-ball, whatever, on a level surface, but no backstops or any of those amenities. And then there is the disc golf course that Ian drafted up around the facility, and that's been incorporated into the final design. So those are the amenities that we're pursuing now. There is frontage up the entire length of E.J. Smith per land use requirements that we'll have to fund. And then the small grant that we'll be going after will be play structure improvements at Veterans Park. That equipment is very dated and starting to fall apart. Half of it's missing. So we want to look to tear that out and put in new ADA compliant. It's been a council goal for several years to have our parks start to become ADA compliant. So if we put in the appropriate surfacing and then the right amenities for that, and we're also looking at a zip line. There's a design that we put in place a couple of years ago that just got paused, and we haven't moved forward with that. So we think that that would be a great amenity to draw more people to that park. But yeah, that's about where we stand on those.
Are you gonna add another restroom to that area, or? is that too
Yeah, the
expensive?
restroom would be in the location that the current rental house is, down in that lower corner.
Perfect, good. Well, that's exciting here that you're moving forward with that strategy. Sounds like a good one. Anybody have any questions?
And the large grant go up to $1 million of a grant, the small one's 100,000 are the two separations.
Yeah, the question I've got is, so are these matching grants or are they just outright for this?
There is this matching piece to them. I don't remember the exacts on those, but
But for the large, yeah, but you may recall the large grant, the purchase price of the property.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, yeah,
So you got $3/4 million worth.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, and I think it was only a 70 or 80% match, so we don't have any problem going for the full $1 million and having that.
That's great.
Well, the nice thing is you get it set up for the next, you can always add to dedicated field. But I really like the thought of a field that any community group or club can use. We don't have any of those really.
No, that's not tied to a school.
Yeah,
It's veteran park. That's the fields.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's really
but
fair.
they're kind of tied up with the league, so.
Yeah. Youth sports. You swim a lot during the times you can use a grass field around there.
Right.
Okay, good. Any other grant updates you want to share with us real quick, or?
not parks related, no. We're good.
Does the company that you consult with, do they search out grants for you?
Yes, yep, they have a lot of resources, and they'll go in as much as we want them to. So if whatever time we're willing to pay them to search for. But even if they don't, they send stuff our way.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you say we're gonna go after ADA client play equipment.
right, he
then
has,
You say, can you find something for us?
Right,
They'll
if-
look for grants.
correct. Yeah, before I worked with him, even this wasn't parks related, but he has a lot of connections to other things just with cities. And I was looking to do a population survey because our income was wrong in Stanfield, and we were trying to get a grant for the CDBG grants, which are tied to the income level of a population, and that income level was always wrong because of our surrounding area. So Stanfield themselves always had to do a new survey to just qualify for these grants. So I was just telling him like, hey, these are some of the things we're looking at. And he's like, hey, let me give you a call. I'm going to call the Ford Family Foundation. I have a contact there. I didn't even have to apply for it. He's like, I got you $5,000. Like, that's going to pay for your consultant to come in and kind of run this with PSU to really go through. There's some like, thanks, Nick. I mean, I wasn't looking for that at the time, but that's just the type of service he'll provide. He just listens. He has contacts because he works with so many other cities doing this. So he knows what they've been doing as well as things that he's researched. And like I say, he already has a good connection with the funders.
Yeah.
So he usually knows what they're looking for, how to word things, and what's a priority to them. Another example, I was working on Veterans Memorial Park. This was a small grant last year, the $100,000 one, and I wanted to focus on the park. And he's like, "Well, this year I happen to know they're really focused on amenities for like bathrooms. Or did you have a bathroom in that?" And I was like, "Well, that was in our phase 2, not our first phase." He's like, "But would you accept?" It was like, if we could go that route, and it's like, "Yeah, I'll push that into our first phase. We had the money. We're gonna go forward with phase 1 anyway." So we got that, and he got the grant for us. It worked out really well because he had that insider knowledge that wasn't necessarily as public, which was really helpful. So, yeah.
You guys shared the Parks Master Plan and the Grabhorn build out plans with him, just get that in the back of his head to see if some grant comes up to contact you.
I don't know if you got that far in depth with him.
I
Maybe
think
not.
I did. I'm pretty sure I did when I first was meeting with him for the, I think I actually did, yes, because he helped me with the grant for the trail in Grabhorn Park. And I'm pretty sure I sent him the Parks Master Plan because we both referenced it multiple times in the application. So yes, he has seen it.
Right, there is another grant we applied for that's a parks grant, but it's not public knowledge yet, so I won't disclose that. Depends on the outcome of that, if the city's gonna go forward with that. But it was another, and he helped me go through that one, which was really great, because it was like a 3-day turnaround. I had to get a lot of information for it, so it was really helpful to have somebody who could get all that. He looked into all the data they needed. He did all the back work, so he could say, this is what we need, let's fill this out, and it was really nice.
There was a gal named Martha, and I can't remember what company she worked with, but we went through her for the playground equipment out here because we got like 40%, the company itself actually gave you a partial grant, so we paid like 50% of it. We paid 40,000 for that whole.
Awesome.
But anyway, if I can find her card, I'll get it to you. This is just good to know.
Right, I'm open to using anybody who has contacts. We were looking for street, like Nick admits, he's like, I'm not good at street type grants. So there's a contact that the port was using, no, not the port. Anyways, one of the districts was using that. I just ran into her. She's like, yeah, we do street grants all the time. I'm like, hey, let me get your information, because infrastructure is a big deal, and I'd love somebody who specializes in that. So yeah, we're not exclusive to any person. Just any help we can have. We're always looking to use someone who knows what they're doing with it.
Yeah, and Nick was also very knowledgeable when we were working through the special public works issues on that loan and things too. So he's definitely knows the names in the game.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's great, because a lot of little incremental sort of updates and upgrades to the parks have been talked about a bunch in this committee and put into goals and put into the master plan. I think it's very appropriate to have somebody who's out there looking around for new folks. 'Cause we know the city's strapped for time and availability to kind of like dig through all those piles of grants. So I think that's great.
Well, the LGGB grants specifically are so time consuming. They need not just the data that you have to provide with the Parks Master Plan, but the way you have to write them, and the letter of support you have to get, and then the surveys of your land that you have to provide with all these other partner agencies just to even apply it. It is a lot more complicated than I thought it was going after 100 grand last time.
Well, I think we got the grant funded this part. I think Lori was a big part of writing the grant here.
Okay.
And then, for, the Conley, that was same thing, same for the large grant. I think it was a $5,000 grant, and Alex, and then it was, we kind of tag team that.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
well, I think I said everything.
Okay. The LGGB
LGGP,
key grants.
it's a local government.
Lottery grant.
What does LGGP stand for? I can't even think about it now.
Program.
I've just been thinking it was local government grant program, but I don't think that's right.
It might be
But
actually as simple as that. It might actually be that simple,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, LGGP.
Well, that's awesome, because we, like I say, we've been talking about resources and well, we out of time. Travel, that actually was our priority, I think.
Absolutely.
And we were gonna meet in October and make sure that we helped to get that done, but they hired you and you're putting that away, and that's great.
I like parks. I think they're a huge amenity, so.
Just to follow up, the LGGP,
Mhm.
are those what the industry would consider shovel-ready grants? If you need survey, you need like plan drawings and some of those.
That's what I have. The third grant availability is you can get $50,000 for a technical assistance to actually get those additional plans ready for a bigger grant.
And you have to have plans if you don't have a kind of a layout, and then the other thing is they hold you to those plans when
Right.
you do apply. And you try to move stuff, you go, no, that's what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes when you have a plan, you go for the 50,000 just to get the extra technical assistance to come up with that, and then the next year you apply for the bigger grant.
I guess I'm just wondering, because if it's something that's gonna be continually applied for as much as we can, city needs to make sure that they have proper documentation.
Right.
Prior to, a year or two in advance. So
Right.
just keeping that momentum.
Yeah, right. We have a lot of projects already planned, already built out, which is nice. But eventually, yeah, it's probably apply for one of those grants and probably get a technical assistance and try to get the next grant ready for the next year. But at the same time, I'd rather take $1 million than 50,000. We'll just pay for our own technical assistance if we need to. So, yeah, we'll do the best we can. I mean, they are competitive grants, and there's no guarantee, but we're putting our best foot forward for it.
Good work. All right, is there, any other park updates you want to give us real quickly, and then we'll jump in the.
I don't know if Dave has any. Dave, do you have any parks updates?
Just to kind of build on to what JJ was talking about is we did meet with Scappoose Bay Watershed last week, and they are excited about the opportunity to partner into the Earth Day event. We will be looking to do some more enhancements on the CZ Trail. We will be scheduling the cleanup along the highway from Havlick down to probably High School Way again. We loaded an entire pickup in that location when we did that 2 years ago. So those will be our two focal points. As far as the beautification, I'm still working on a location for that, JJ. And then I can get with you and come up with some sort of materials list for donations.
Great.
Other than that, our parks are just in winter mode. We're just maintaining, everything's winterized. As soon as spring hits, we'll be in full force. We may have to not irrigate as much this year. We're going to be down our large reservoir. So water shortages may be a reality for the city of Scappoose. So we'll monitor that, but we may have some more brown parks due to water shortages, but that's kind of where we're at looking at. So
So I did have just a couple comments. Dave and I had talked a little bit about the 14-acre park that was donated, the wetland park. And when I talked to Dave about it, it really reminded me, so there's this 14-acre park that was donated as part of the deal for you did the deal.
Yeah, that was part of the deal we worked with the developer to develop that whole industrial park. I threw that in.
So for wetland.
The cat head
Oh,
property.
yeah,
may
I don't
have-
know.
okay,
They are the deal.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But the idea that I had talked to Dave about was based on a really successful park on Sobeys Island called the Wapato Trail. So the Wapato Trail basically is around a 2-mile round trail that encircles a massive wetland pond area. And the reason I mentioned it is that the Audubon, since once again, the Portland Bird Alliance came in and it was all covered with invasive species and it was really a mess. And they came in, they removed all the invasive species, they put in signage talking about the different birds you could see. They actually built a duck blind. And I mean, it's just a really great design. And so I was talking to Dave about maybe doing something similar with that wetland area because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, basically it's like a 1/4-mile walk to get to that park. Is that correct?
yeah, from Miller Road.
So anyway, so I think that's another opportunity that, we could partner with a community partner like Audubon Society to actually make that happen. And it's pretty straightforward and it's just, I love the Wapato Trail on Sobeys Island. So there's that. And then what about Vista Park? What are updates on Vista Park as far as that whole process, Dave?
Well, we're working still to get access in from Luma Vista. That's an active topic. We have an application in with the county right now, and we're getting some pushback from the neighboring properties on Luma Vista. So we're negotiating that the best we can right at the moment. Other than that, we're just in a holding pattern, waiting for that to resolve.
Well, I'm really glad you guys stood your ground and didn't just cave into that neighborhood pressure that, and that it's been there for a long time. But the truth is, that's a spectacular piece of property, and there's no good reason why you don't have some kind of parking area there. So stay with it.
Other than that, we we continue to mow and have footpaths throughout the property, obviously accessing from Bella Vista side hike in. But yeah, we do mow it on a regular basis. The Boy Scouts put a resting bench up there. We have a couple in our inventory at Public Works, so we may look at adding just to elaborate on that use. Obviously we are restricted with certain things, no motorized vehicles. There's no bike paths yet or anything like that, but obviously encourage people to hike up there.
Right. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a process, just the negotiation, because really the county's gone against their standard process, even what their ordinances dictate for access up there. And so we've been going through in good faith to keep good relationship with the people up there and the county and trying to go through a certain route first. But the fact is they haven't been following their own process because of whatever reason. So it has been an interesting, touchy process, but we are proceeding forward first with good faith, and then if anything else, I mean, the law would be on our side if you ever want to go that way, but that's not the route we're trying to go.
Any other?
I just have a question. I think the last meeting, according to these notes, is when we began to talk about the prioritization in the CIP.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that doesn't get lost, or was that brought up in council for discussion, or where are we at in that process of, I think it came from the city being starting to put aside money for park upgrades and how we best utilize that money and what are the priorities that came out of many potential upgrades in the master.
Well, in a nutshell on that, we're in a holding pattern financially. We're not spending any large amounts of dollars on the parks until we know the outcome of the Grabhorn grant, because quite frankly, the $1 million, even if we get it, likely is not enough to build it. So the city's going to have to come up with as many dollars on our end to match with it, not just for grant match, but just to cover the cost of construction. The engineer's estimates are way in exceedance of $1 million right now. So we're not, like I said, we're not spending anything that we don't absolutely have to keep our current facilities as best that they could be at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other updates, Dave, that you want to share?
Chapman Landing, we've been doing a considerable amount of work down there over the past few years during the late summer when the water's low. We've been clearing underbrush and opening up some areas, and I do see the potential for disc golf down there. Ian, if you'd like to take a walk, you're more than welcome and sketch something up, but I think Ben and I will be doing something similar. I've got one more season of cleaning of just invasive brush down there that the drainage district doesn't want for the safety of the dike and things. They want water to be able to pass through that property. It is a river channel technically. And so we've been working to open that up as a dual thing. It benefits them and it benefits us because it makes the property more useful. There's some very nice meadows down there closer to the water where you could feasibly now launch a kayak and things. So we're pretty excited about that, and it'll continue to get better and better and better as a no cost to us. It's just labor intensive, but we have all of the tools and amenities to do that work. And so I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, what about, so Dave and I, we talked about, well, David actually brought up the idea of setting up a temporary kayak launch. Is there anything else going on with that?
Well, once again, we haven't spent any money, but we're working to create an area where that may be located. We do need to work through any permitting requirements, if there any are pending for such a thing. Since it's not anchored into soil with any pilings, I don't know of any restrictions, but it's still a work in progress.
Okay.
But we are looking at some sort of a floating dock that may be tied off to the existing pilings down there and rise and lower with the currents and tides, but still be able to get a boat out. But right now there is a spot where you could launch a boat from the beach. So it is
That's
becoming
great.
accessible. So.
Well, I can remember when the city took that over and the county had ownership, and it was nothing but blackberries. Road had big holes in it, were dangerous, and it was just.
Graffiti,
It was awful, it's night and day what
yeah.
the city's done under Dave's leadership, so.
Oh, another thing for Chapman Landing that we're going to encourage, I think, for this upcoming year is the Christmas ships. That has turned into a beautiful location to watch the Christmas ships come by. This past year, the week before the ships, Public Works went down and created a larger gravel area with concrete barricades around it to delineate where vehicles can park in an angular fashion. get a little further off the road. We put a gravel path up and over the dike so that people can get to it better. And I've been going down there for Christmas shifts since I started for the city 8 years ago. And it's grown now to where I think there was probably at least 200 to 300 people, maybe even more down there. It was an amazing thing.
That's great.
So I look forward to that becoming more and more of a thing.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, St. Helens, the ships actually land there and it's a really big event. And people love it. I think that's a really, really great thing to promote.
So, just a side comment, Dave, I ran into Michael Curry, and of course, his business is about a mile away or a mile and a half away from Chapman Landing, and he and his wife are very fond of taking walks to that park, and he's offered to help design, with any design work that you might want to develop. His vision is to take that big old pad and make it into a viewing stand. And I think it would be pretty cool to have him help you design something like that. That could really be awesome.
All right, and that'd be great to have that. I had talked to Dave about the same thing. JJ had talked about the bird viewing out there as well. If we could partner with different people and make something like that happen, it could be helpful for the Christmas ships, for bird viewing, or events. I mean, it definitely would be a multi-use,
Well,
be a really great viewing pad.
So Island, I mean, there's a viewing area at Raccoon Lake or whatever, and it's like, so they've got all the signage about the birds and everything there, and then an area that you can go and look at the birds, and then seating and all that. It's really wonderful.
So, just so the city knows, the PUD has we don't advertise it, but we have a grant program that, we helped, put new lighting at the fairgrounds this last year. I think it was
Wow.
like $19,000. And then we kind of look for, well, with City of St. Helens, we funded some new transformers so that they could put bands at McCormick Park because they could do 13 rivers. And so, a project like Chapman Landing, you had some elements that, you could argue, positive for community livability or support economic development. I could probably help you a little bit. So,
On a
And is
little
it
bit
lighting
side note,
specific?
is it what?
Would it be lighting specific, so like providing lights there, or so it's anything? Okay,
Yeah, if it's
Okay.
economic, if you type economic development,
no, I could see that.
and you could talk to tourists, that's attracting tourists.
Easy, yeah.
So I think but just know that getting old, I'm not gonna work that many more years.
You gotta get it soon. Sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
well, a couple of things. Actually, you kind of got me thinking about something else. So we are looking at putting security cameras down there. We're actually in communications with the PUD on what infrastructure would have to be assembled on the pole, and then mounting cameras down there. We've had some pretty substantial damage over this past year. The porta potty ended up getting dumped in the river once, and several other things. So we are looking at security upgrades. But as another curiosity point, Michael, when is that grant cycle? When would that open up? I'm working with the community club to put lighting and power on the Welcome to Scappoose sign that was just rehabilitated this last year or restored. And they would like to pursue that. When would that process be?
Do you know how much it would cost?
It's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, most of it goes to the PUD, actually. They're the biggest bill, but I want to say it's somewhere around $6,000 total.
But it's kind of open all year round, and we don't really advertise it. We try to use it to strategically do projects that, because if you advertise, you sometimes get a lot of projects that you really don't want to fund. So we just kind of keep it in our hip pocket, and we have a key accounts team, which basically is a group of employees that work with different organizations around the county, and if they see an opportunity, then they kind of volunteer in this grant program. And so yeah.
Once again, when would they need to apply just to see if it is something of interest?
Well, maybe you should come down to the PUD and talk to me about it sometime.
Okay, I can do that.
And Be nice to know what kind, you were saying a lot of it's our cost, be nice to know what that is, maybe it's something we could just do, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've got a quote from your engineering department on it, so I'll just grab that sometime and meet with you.
Okay, that'd be great. I really would like to help Chapel Landing.
That's a good one.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about? So how about goals? Do we have time to? We want
Couple
to
minutes.
just maybe,
You want to do it now or you want to do it next meeting?
The council's meeting on Saturday for the retreat.
I think
So
we should come up with 5, 6 goals. I don't think we want to.
Yeah. We have the goals from last year.
Yeah, well, I'll pull them up and then turn my laptop.
Okay, great.
We'll make it work.
Just read it for us.
Okay. Let me grab my map. Okay. Oops. Okay. No, this is from November of last year. We did it early. Okay. So number one, I'll turn it after I read it, is pursue grants to develop Grabhorn. Number two was identify and pursue grant opportunities. Number three, identify and strengthen partnerships with key stakeholders. Number four, explore opportunities to pursue funding options. 5 was increase recreational opportunities for the community. Number 6, increase volunteer engagement. And number 7 was create a strategic plan for Chapman Landing.
It sounds like there's some momentum for Chapman Landing right now, as far as the city's done some really wonderful work getting that looking like a park now.
Right.
So I would think that, you know,
I'd say that's top.
obviously Grabhorn is something we want to see
Right.
get advanced, and it seems like you guys are getting there, getting it done to the point that you can, the available funds and such. So I want to see that momentum continue, but I don't know what we can do in support of if grants are provided to the city, what we can do beyond.
Well, I think we could, continue to look at different strategic partnerships that we can develop. I think that's really important. It took me 2 years to get the Bird Alliance to begin to talk to me. So, those kind of work like PCC and other organizations like that, people, they love parks. So if you can give them a reason to get involved, they're gonna do it.
So you were talking about Grabhorn?
I was talking about, is there a goal that we should still have for Grabhorn? Or is it something that we feel like we've achieved?
I think they're gonna do it this year, so I think we throw it on there and just, pursue, and they're gonna apply for them in April. Number one, pursue grant, or continue to pursue grants for Grabhorn.
right, there's no guarantee we get it, so it's not
100%.
necessarily complete this year. It depends on if we get the money or not. If not, we'll apply again next year.
Yeah.
And then two was, I was hearing you say that you thought we should maybe go after or develop a strategic plan for development of Chapman Landing,
Yes.
right? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
How can we help support the city in?
Well, I think what they're
Take
trying to do
Chapman
right now
next
is
level.
that, right, so but I guess what I'm understanding is that city council wants to understand what our goal suggestions are. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's two. I think supporting Earth Day, I mean, we have to put it on there, and that, your projects, that we support those. I mean, are you?
Yeah, and then but I also think, continuing to develop strategic partnerships and with
Okay.
community partners. I mean, I think one of the big challenges Scappoose had in the past is not having, so you don't have the JCs anymore, and you don't have those groups. But there are a number of companies that really, that is very cachet for them to be involved in, and nonprofits. So I think those are really essential. And I mean, I've just been developing those, reaching out to them to help me do, to help put together things for the events. But there's a big interest in that.
And I think if we put too many goals, then we're just kidding ourselves.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Overwhelmed.
accomplishing the 6 or 7 we just mentioned, I think it's gonna be, we did that, we'd have a great year. Maybe there's 1 or 2 more we could have, but
Yeah.
What, so JJ and I went, was it in August, where we had the joint city council and parks department meeting or parks committee meeting.
Yes.
And from that, one thing stood out to me was like, it would be really great if we could help the city kind of, if we could strategize a list of like income generating or donation based things that can happen in parks during new construction and or say a citizen wants to donate $10,000, they buy a bench or they do something where they can come to a list that you guys have.
Right.
And it says, oh, we're doing pavers in Heritage Park. You can get your name on a paver for $500, whatever.
Right.
But it's some kind of list that helps the city be able to raise funds
Right.
for the parks. Because there's no mechanism now other than your general fund,
Right.
which oftentimes
And that
is the last thing that gets.
right. And that's really community engagement. I mean, one idea that I floated years ago was the idea, like along the CD Trail, is having nonprofits take ownership, like they do on the roads, where the Kiwanis Club.
Yeah, the Doctor
things
House,
on the
right?
road. Yeah, and so you do the same thing with trails where they get a little placard and then there's agreement. I mean, the issue, Dave talked about this when I brought it up, is just the liability of all of that. But there's plenty of ways that you can get people to get engaged because, I mean, they care about these things.
so how do we describe that in a goal? What the two of you are saying?
Did you like the verbiage of number 4? I don't know if you can read it, or do you want me more
I
specific?
would say identify and strengthen partnerships with key stakeholders and the community, maybe. Would that be better?
Sorry, I just.
I think for that goal, that's perfectly a good goal. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
what I was talking is a little bit, probably a different goal.
Are you talking
So what would you call that goal? Because I think it's important.
Kind of both though, because you build those partnerships to understand where, because the public is one thing, the general public is you have to just ask when it happens and here are the opportunities you guys can donate. But business and nonprofits, they usually already have like what type of grant opportunities we know. No PUD has one that we could have that list of people to go ask for certain types of projects for businesses that are willing to donate to certain type. What type of project are they interested in?
Yeah.
Going after Nike, what would they be willing to, or Trailblazers, or local companies, or whatever? Just coming up with a list, contacts, who to talk to, and what type of projects they're interested in, and what type of estimated grants are willing to look at would be super helpful, because then you could figure out what their grant timelines are, figure out who to talk to, and make sure it fits the type of project you're looking for.
Because I mean, there are based companies that would be interested in helping, and that's, I mean, there's ones in Scappoose as well, but the fact of the matter is that 80% of everybody that works for a living drives to Portland to go to work. So you've already got that connection. So, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's why I mentioned like Intel and Nike or whoever,
Yeah.
because we have people who live here that work there in high positions too. So it would be helping their employees with their livability.
Oh,
I agree. I think the two are intertwined,
Mhm.
but you can't go out to the stakeholder if you don't have a list of things
That need to be done.
that you would like.
A wish list.
or
It's like identify park income generating opportunities. You just leave it super open like that.
I think that's perfect.
And then
Okay.
if we want to go big and say a synthetic turf field,
Mhm.
in Rathborn, if Nike wants to donate one,
Right, we want to be.
would you at least something to have to ask, hey, we're building this, we would,
Right.
or a new basketball court, the Trailblazers, or,
Right.
maybe the Timbers would get in on
Right.
donating goals for the soccer field.
Right.
Or, anything like that, but to have a list to be able to kind of like look at and say, okay, this stakeholder that'd be good to talk to them about.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So just just because I'm writing these down. Normally I'd be doing this on my laptop, but just for sake of order. So number one, we have continue to pursue grants for Grabhorn. And then number two was develop a strategic plan or, create a strategic plan to develop Chapman Landing. And then the other three are not ordered yet. And they are strategic or create or develop strategic partnerships with community partners and key stakeholders, support Earth Day, and identify park income generating opportunities. Do you have a preference for what's 3, 4, 5?
Now, the one for stakeholders, now read that again, that's.
I kept adding words, so I think it needs to maybe be strengthen, develop strategic partnerships with community partners and key stakeholders. But I'm just writing these out on the fly, so that we can, reword that as desired.
Council's gonna word this anyways how they want, right?
So
Or are they just gonna literally
Yeah.
adopt word for word?
No, they're gonna just be looking at everything, the recommendations, and they're gonna come up with what their goals are and what their strategic plan is going for this next week or this next year. Now, just because they don't adopt it doesn't mean that it's not something that we work on. It just means is what is their priority, where we're gonna put our most faith and money towards.
But I'd be surprised if they don't, if they're fairly reasonable. I could expect, as long as we don't, I don't think we want to throw too many.
I think that's a good amount.
5, okay.
Yeah, I think we don't want to get over unachievable
Yeah,
goals here.
And I would just say I would not limit it just to Earth Day. I would say for park-related events.
okay.
I think
Okay.
that's a better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's already in the budget to support
Right.
Earth Day. I mean, they already even this last meeting, they designated the 11.
That related that we want to implement at other parks or activities. I think that's important to have in there as well.
Okay, so support Earth Day and other community events in the parks, something like that?
Yeah.
Or community, yeah, okay,
Say birthday out, these community events.
Okay. yeah,
Right.
okay. Okay,
I think that would read better because, like I said, just last council meeting, they already designated money to them. They're not in support. It's already something they're going to do.
Right.
So I don't know if
thank
that's really
you.
a goal. All right.
But as far as trying to find people to donate money for particular park elements, that's going to take a lot of thought, and it probably has to be project specific.
Yeah, it's a living document.
Yeah,
We get it started, we get it rolling, and then
Yep.
they take it over.
it's kind of like we grab one, see where you're at and see, maybe have a brain, we have one of our meetings, just been talking about how we could, and who we could leverage to support your references. Like we've heard, we don't have enough money.
Right. Well, I hear the Sykes Family Foundation has $1 million they're willing to look at.
Yeah,
Just haven't created the foundation yet. We're working on it.
but I think Chapel Lane would be a perfect project to kind of try and explore
Yeah.
how we can leverage that, because I already told you Mike Curry would love to help me
Right.
design it. And you put his name, I mean, that's how we sold this grant right over here. We had the Rotary Club and Michael Curry and.
As long as we can get the Bird Alliance involved in that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
we're a really reputable organizations and people.
Why don't we try to identify a park at each meeting?
Okay.
And whatever opportunities for income generation or fundraising or donations come from that.
Maybe just kind of do a
At the end of
mini,
the year, we'll have a list.
maybe come up with a little mini action plan or whatever you want to call it. Okay, for this, we think these are some of the opportunities that are.
Yeah.
That are available, just brainstorm.
If that would be a benefit to the council or to the city, I believe it would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, we have it with the Parks Master Plan,
Right.
Mhm.
but what we don't have are the opportunities to
Fun.
generate the income
Right.
based on donations. mostly,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean.
Their donation or you're
Right,
we're
right.
donating by purchasing something.
Right.
It's still a donation.
Right, on the beautification stuff, I talked to Dave. I mean, I've got a great relationship with Means Nursery now, and they're great. I just ask them for stuff and they give it to me. So, it's like by having those people that we can go to or those organizations makes a huge difference.
Are you thinking of having a list that also if anybody came by and they're just looking like, oh, I could donate that today, here you go. Like you need the benches, here you go.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
Let's kind of motivate this outside of our regular.
Yeah.
Well,
You
you
had
know-
a citizen come up and say, you know, I have $50,000 that I would like to,
that's a nice bill. That's a nice
Well,
finish.
I would like to like donate to upgrade Veterans Park, or like I have
Play structure.
my,
or something.
my grandchild that had this and
But you
he'd
could-
love to do that.
But you could
Like,
also,
do this in his
you're
honor.
right, but you could also implement that like in the SCAPUS newsletter, where you say, hey, adopt a bench, and then have a cost, and,
Mhm.
you could actually try that out.
Well, just a little history, if you look at all these benches out here, those big concrete ones that cost $2,000 a pop, those were all donated.
Right.
And then like the candle, we didn't have money to fix that. That was.
We do have a memorial bench program, FYI, if you know
That
anyone.
was, that was paid
Yeah.
for by the Graveler family, by the way, the improvements to the candle, so it flickers all the time.
Yeah.
That
You
was-
could put that in the water bill, just, hey, we're looking for, a bed, at this location, and they will donate because they care.
That's something that you always should keep in the back of your mind is Cal in concrete.
Yes.
They donated a lot of the rock for the pavilion in Concolly. So-
Okay.
So I can have his number and give it to you.
Okay.
Cool.
Right.
No, that's great.
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you, Ian.
I guess another update that I did not include before, that just as far as city direction. So, one of the hopes that I have, so we kind of teamed up NJ to take on a little bit what Isaac was doing. It's kind of a hybrid position. He's still a planner, but what I'm hoping to have NJ focus on, because he has some recreation background as well,
Yes, he does.
is to help work with me, because I love it anyways, to try to get some of these events and programs and other things going as well. So I don't know how soon that's going to take off. He's trying to get trained in all the other things, as well as deal with a ton of planning things he's working on right now. But that is the goal, to get additional help to help with parks and use of parks. Is kind of one of the main things I'll be working with him on.
Well, that's great. So are you gonna hire another staff person, or is NJ just gonna move into that position more permanently? Is that the idea, or?
No, it's going to be a hybrid for the foreseeable future.
Okay,
They are hiring some help in the front office to take over some of that, the work, the front office, so we can really focus on just projects. So we're just shuffling around. It'll be cheaper for the city overall, which is great, but also gives us more flexibility. Beyond that, it depends on how things go. I mean, we could definitely hire more event, coordinators and other things to sponsor different events, as long as they are self-sustaining. So we're looking, typically parks or recreation plans are other outside of pools. Pools are never self-sustaining, but usually a recreation program be self-sustaining. So we can hire people to do the programming, to be there, and the fees will cover the cost for all that. So it's not really a burden to the city. And that would be the goal, is to develop a plan so it is self-sustaining.
good.
Do you have enough polls?
If you are all happy with 5, then yeah, got 5.
That's good.
You gotta send these off to Susan, so.
Okay, thanks for taking time to ask. It'll be able to kind of support your efforts. Anything else we need to talk about?
What's item 4.3, council committee update?
I was under the impression that a council member would be here, but because we shifted the date, she wasn't able to make it.
Oh.
So that was what that was going to be, I believe.
And I really appreciate you just kind of laying out the next meeting.
Thank you.
And so to follow up with your comment, do you want me to add the action plan? I wrote action plan for park income generating opportunities as an agenda item for next
I
meeting.
think that's great.
Okay, so that's a go. Okay. I'll add that.
Anything else you got, Dave?
No, I think I've probably given you enough.
Can I just ask one more question?
Please do.
We talked a lot about pickleball at the last meeting and about it located in Veterans Park, and I understand the city's not purchasing anything right now, or spending the monies, but is there any additional movement on pickleball in Veterans Park?
No, no movement. It's still a desired amenity. We still like the design that's there. Once again, we're just kind of playing out our cards to see how this grant goes and then prioritize from there, depending on what costs of Grabhorn would be. And then once we have that established, then we can turn the corner to the next ones, which I'm hearing Chapman Landing is going to become a priority. So that's another thing that I think that the city and committees, whoever, really need to focus on as a priority, because we're bouncing around. I think we need to have a clear path of priorities working our way through the parks, or if we're going to bounce, figure out how we're bouncing on small amenities, because, you know, pickleball courts, probably 100,000. Well, right now we're only budgeting 50 to 100,000 a year to build new amenities. So unless we're successful in grants, which obviously we hope we would be, we're going to be moving forward slow. So.
And then to add to that, after we had initially discussed the pickleball, Paul had come up with a design, and I think he'd also given a rough figure of what he thought it might cost. And I tried to find some grants because I thought pickleball's so popular, there's got to be something. But the only grants that I was able to find were for equipment, like nets and paddles and stuff like that. So,
Reach
that-
out,
yeah.
reach out to Moala. I think they just put in some new pickleball courts. I think they got some grants to help with that.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe, okay. I was looking for pickleball specific, but maybe I should have been more general. So I didn't really know how else to find a grant for a pickleball court.
Right, I just know they put through and they put out some cool base. I saw it on the LCCMA list, or I believe it was Moala. Yeah, they were just talking about the ones they put through. It was pretty cool. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
they may, yeah, you might have some sources of some grant.
Okay. And that might even be a little nicer then, because I think the one that Paul had sort of sketched up, he kept it as low cost as possible. And I think it was like concrete or asphalt. Like it wasn't like any sort of
Yeah,
fancy,
understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
material.
Fencing involved in it too.
It did, I
Like,
believe.
not fencing.
Yeah, no, because yeah, you could just run after your ball if it goes off the court. Yeah, I think it was like 2 courts right next to each other, I believe. And I can't remember the cost off my head, but yeah, I'll look into that.
And I'll double check, make sure it was Moala. I'll see if I can find that pickleball.
And I do want to be kind of frank a little bit here. You know, none of this is definitely not important to us, but the city is in the middle of some substantial infrastructure projects that we have extremely tight timelines on. We've got, you know, 20 some million dollars in contract, right? Actually $30 million in contract right now for the reservoir treatment plant, pump stations, wells, all kinds of things going, that we're cutting checks in excess of $1 million to these contractors. And that is keeping Charlotte and I quite busy, along with several other reports that have mandatory timelines for DEQ and these other agencies. So we're doing the best with the limited staff time we have, is ultimately what I'm getting at. So that is where the consultant that was referred to by Ben is so valuable, is because that's helping to take the burden of the limited time that we're facing right now. So I think that's a great asset and just want to support it.
Good idea. Okay, anything else we need to discuss? All righty. Thank you all, and we're adjourned.
Two.